All right, so we're at the point of turning it on, which I can't say I'm super excited about, because as of right now, if it is broken from transporting it over here, I don't know it yet, so therefore it's not broken. So Joe has a piece of equipment to pick up that probably should not see water and salt. What's it do? It snows a little bit. Today, doing what I do best, spending several $1,000s on a toy to do a job that would have cost me a couple hundred to have someone else do. Math works out in my head. Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch! Today we have to do a little reorganization in the small garage. The one that we're currently building, this nice little LS3 swapped Defender. I need to make room for a new toy. It looks a touch bit different inside here. And that is because I am just a sucker for a good deal. Especially a good deal on fun tools. You may remember over in that vicinity, we used to have that tool cart. And where that tool cart was, we had the drill press, which I need to find a home for. The wood saws are probably going to go down to the other shop so I can build the mezzanine, but we needed to clear some space, namely that area there. With small workspaces, layout is key. This is a 17 by 24 garage, and we are getting a lot accomplished in it, but I went ahead and bought something a bit prematurely before the new shop was ready to have it. So I have a problem with what I like to refer to as deal creep. What is deal creep? It happens when I decide to look for a new tool, toy, car, something along those lines. And it's how I happen to end up with so many random Land Rovers and things laying around. So this whole deal started off with me wanting to buy a little diode laser, which can be had somewhere in like the $600 range. Something like this, maybe off Amazon, to do a little light cutting and engraving on projects here and there. But I'm very analytical when it comes to making purchases, and I do quite a bit of research. But in my research, I came across a CO2 laser in Ohio, just a nice little small home unit. That one was local pickup only, and it was about a 1,200 mile round trip. And with an LR4, that was gonna be $360 in fuel. So then further into my research, I decided I'll just buy a new Chinese unit, a bigger cabinet style one, for just a few $100s more. And then as I was about to order that up, Ted sent me a link on Facebook Marketplace to the one we're gonna pick up now, quite a bit bigger. And now 4 times the price of what I was originally planning on spending on that little diode laser. And that is what is gonna end up in this space here. I didn't need something that big, but it was a good deal. And there is deal creep. Happens with all the Land Rovers. When you start looking for one, you come across more and more and more, and I'm a sucker for a good deal, and I just can't pass them up. So that's kind of what I consider deal creep, because as you know, typically the more you spend, the better quality product, tool, whatever it is, you end up getting, and it gives you more features, or in the case of this laser, more power, and a bigger cutting area. So when I get deeper into my research on whatever I'm buying, I tend to convince myself that those features are worth that extra amount of money, and we creep on up. It's a good and a bad problem, because now we have something that is much more robust than what we were looking at originally, and much more useful, but we also have much less money in our wallet. So let's go get this thing picked up. It's been sitting for a minute. All right, down. Idiot. Before you pin it back in there or whatever? Yeah. Well, we managed to create enough room, and it doesn't look like we broke it on the ride home with the old Eco. And there is the business end of this thing. This is a 16 by 30 cutting area CO2 laser with a 70-watt tube sitting back there. So we should be able to do some damage on some wood and whatnot. I got a few ideas bouncing around in my head for some use with this guy. Looks like we even have an ignition key to fire this bad boy up. Ain't nobody stealing my laser. But we purchased this, obviously, used machine from a creative center here in town. Happened to pop up locally. But they were nice enough to include some extra goodies with it. We have not one, but 2 chillers for the laser tube. Those guys are just kind of essentially a radiator, pumps water through, keeps everything cool. We got some duct work. I just went ahead and picked up this guy from the old Menards. We're gonna have to punch a hole in the wall there for the fan they tossed in with it. This was for their new one, but they already had one plumbed into the wall, so they decided I could just have that. And there it is. So underneath the honeycomb here, we have a little collection box that is vented with that duct and that duct to the rear. And that fan there will suck all the smoke and whatnot and shoot it out the back of the garage so we don't die in here. It's always a good thing. We have a little air assist compressor that came with the machine originally. That shoots compressed air in through the nozzle and blows the smoke and debris out of the way and keeps some flame ups from happening. Also allows for a better cut, getting everything cleaned up and out of the way of the laser beam. When they were using it, they upgraded to this compressor here, and they went ahead and tossed that in. We'll find a use for it, but it won't be for that guy. We'll just plumb it into the big compressor in the garage. And when it gets moved down to the new shop, we'll plumb it in to the bigger compressor. We'll never be short on air. I almost forgot I got this little toolbox too. Not a whole lot of tools in it, but it does say Boss on it twice, so it's got to be good. Let's see how this guy works. So much wind. I mean, it's really not bad. Now we need to cut a hole in the garage. Wonder if I could set this on its side and use it to cut the hole in the garage. That would be convenient. Not possible though. Hopefully there is no electrical behind here, but if you see a spark, we found some. Maybe we can use this to test the laser. All right, we successfully have half a hole done. We gotta go outside, cut it from out there, but I'm not going to bring you with because it's too dark for you to see. Hey, now we successfully have a window to the outside world. So I'm kind of embarrassed to say it took a much longer amount of time than it should have to find where to plug the power cord in. I was feeding some USB cables through there for the computer. Power supply there, kind of figured it'd be in this area. Had this back in the corner a little bit further. Did not see it. And I definitely struggled for a bit. But we're in good shape now. We'll be able to test this in just a moment because we have our ducting all ducted. All right, so we're at the point of turning it on, which I can't say I'm super excited about because as of right now, if it is broken from transporting it over here, I don't know it yet. So therefore it's not broken. But we're gonna see if it powers on. We aren't gonna run it just yet because I gotta go inside and find a power strip for the 75 plugs this thing has. All right, so the laser itself is plugged in. We got nothing here. Let's see if, ooh. We got some noise. Hey, it did a thing. It's 45 degrees in here, so maybe we'll bump that up a hair. All right, so now let's go read on how this works. We're gonna dump that out of the way so I don't break anything trying to figure stuff out. After we test this thing out, we're definitely gonna give it a good cleaning. It's too big for me. Now this is a tool and it is here to be useful and make money, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't take a little pride in how it looks. I come from the school of thought that if you have something nice, try and keep it as nice as possible. So we're just giving it a quick wipe down so it just looks a bit nicer. After I get this thing up and running, I'm a little more comfortable with it. I'll give it a much more thorough cleaning. I just don't want to touch anything important until I know it all functions again. That way, if we did something while transporting this on the trailer with the Eco, we're troubleshooting after that and not chasing something that I did while cleaning it. Well, we should be able to see what we're screwing up in there a little bit better now. But speaking of keeping this thing as nice as possible, once we run it for a bit, it's missing a couple of these latches. So we'll order those up and some new decals. I want to run it and make sure we don't need to add any parts to that list before we order those. So we're going to use our little battery backup that we had on the CNC Plasma and kind of see it was close to the CNC Plasma. Couple burn marks there. All right, so we have a file that I drew up quick on Lightburn, which is a laser program. We're on the trial version, so I can try and figure out if I know what I'm doing. But we're just gonna send this over to the laser real quick and give this old girl a shot. All right, so we have our file in there. We're gonna do what they call frame it, and that'll run the laser on the outer perimeter of what we are trying to engrave / cut and see if I have this hunk of wood underneath where it's gonna go. All right, so we are going to go to the manual here because I'm a little bit lost on setting the origin. For the sake of speed in trying this out and me not knowing what's going on, I moved it to where the origin was. As you can see, the beam is where it's supposed to be. All right, we're gonna close this down. Turn all our gadgets on. We got the water flowing. Zoom on the fan. We'll turn our little compressor on. I think we're all systems go. All right, I'm not sure if we had the settings right to cut. Does not look like it, but that engraving turned out pretty decent. I'm gonna shrink this down a little bit and try it one more time. Take 2. All right, so we didn't get through on that one either. I slowed it down and did 2 passes. But I'm not exactly sure. Oh! We were so close. You can see how close we were. We were 75% of the way through. The other thing is, I'm not quite sure what this chunk of wood is. I was kind of going off settings for birch, and this isn't birch. We had a few difficulties, but we got there, boys and girls. I'm not going to worry about dialing it in on this because I have no idea what this chunk of wood actually is. So it'd be kind of a waste of time in setting it up for that, but I think we have it somewhat figured out. Was having a little issue with the laser not firing on the outer cut on this one. So I did some troubleshooting, bypassed our sensor and whatnot for the lid because I thought maybe that was not working. It wasn't thinking the door was closed. Turns out I just had the setting wrong, and if you go and put the minimum at 0 and the max at 80%, it does not shoot it at 80% power. It does it at 0. But hey, at least we got a chance to get the multimeter out and learn how to do a little troubleshooting on this in case there is future problems. So it's not perfect, but who doesn't need a oil light keychain? So I stopped and grabbed a couple more chunks of wood. Cut them down from these guys. Something a little more manageable for me to screw up. We got some red oak and some poplar, both hardwoods. This one a little over twice as hard as this one. Curious on the difference? So we need to thicken that up a little bit. Here's our first run playing around. We got the poplar kind of on lock, and that is looking pretty slick. Look at that guy. Cool little burnt edge cut. Got a little 109 out of poplar as well. We have some of the red oak here, and that is going to take a little bit more dialing in. It's just a little bit tougher. Here's our original one with our mystery wood. But we got a pretty good start for the first day in. And this thing is going to be an awesome little tool And I can't wait to get some clear acrylic cut. Got some neat ideas for that. And if you stick around, you'll see it used on this guy as well. That LS3 Swap Defender. 3D printer, CNC laser. It's starting to get fun around here. Can't wait to add the CNC plasma back to the mix. So we're gonna keep dialing these guys in. So how about this? The next 10 or 15 orders, let's just make it 15, at thelostcauseranch.com. We'll get one of our nifty little keychains. It'll be randomly selected. You might get the oil light. You might get yourself a 109 Nada, maybe the Lost Cause Ranch, or whatever else Joe decides to cut out. Feel free, if there is anything on the site that you are interested in, you'll get one of these as a bonus, even if it is just a sticker order. No minimum dollar amount. With that being said, appreciate you guys watching, appreciate you subscribing, and we will hopefully be back with the LS3 Defender on the next episode. Now that we got the garage rearranged and our fancy new toy stuffed inside. And if you're a Land Rover fan, you'll probably like this set of coasters that's going to be up for sale on the website